What's cracking, people? It's your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. Here is the presentation of the statistical information that supports the male octane observation series that's being presented currently on the YouTube side. So just to get right into it, we're observing as a case study for the male octane grades the current Black, American, non-Hispanic, non-immigrant male. Okay, so using that metric, the statistic currently puts the population at 21 million. Now, as we go further into the statistical analysis, I want to put out there as a guide or a key for the variance, meaning the difference between the actual percentile and the up or down, as 2.1%, which is 1 million up or down from the 21 million overall total of the whole sum as of 2018 statistics. So getting into it. The original octane scale, according to the master teacher B.G.S. Itmore, was based on the socioeconomic presentation, and I'm very careful with the words that I select when I say this, presentation of women of various class standings. That means that how a woman presents can be correlated to her socioeconomic standing. And in my previous series covering octane observations for the female octane scale, I was able to match up the socioeconomic output according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics loosely to correlate that particular scale. But when we look at the male octane scale, this is more closely tied in terms of desirability, in terms of sustainability, in terms of what it means in this culture to be a valuable and or productive contributory male in society, and thus give you a textbook a definition of desirability. We have to more closely follow the economic aspect of the octane model, using the octane scale as the guide rule, sort of, for what the production value of a man is in this particular society. The initial attempt is to form a corollary between the octane scale model and the socioeconomic output, meaning the production and the value and the class system based upon the output of production based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics qualification. So that's just the backbone. That's just the beginning and the basis to give us a touch point for the greater conversation that happens when we look further into various elements in this society that play upon our target subject group, which is Black American men, and the factors that have affected positively or negatively the ability to ascend or maintain or even to withdraw from the presented scale of socioeconomic output in America. Now, I won't bore you with all of the details of the reference works that I cited for the graphs and charts and the information that I've produced to use throughout this particular series. But I do want to highlight a few notables, and those notables are how I arrived at the percentages of the population that represent the diesel man, the 100 octane man, and the 85 octane man. I think that the most notable would be the 85 octane man, but also an additional group that's added on because of the burden of production that's put on the man, we have not only the capacity but the burden of showing and proving, what the output or the result of our masculinity is, and that in this society is measured in dollars and cents. So this is the almighty graphic, air quotes, that shows what the result of research is. And quickly, if we look at first the Diesel Man, which is the exotic entertainment, the sex work, we have fewer categories than women, obviously, but this and the 100 Octane Man, which includes the entertainer, the baller, and the master of the universe, are the two smallest, I mean minute, compared to the greater population stat columns of this entire explanation. And just to give you a better sense of what those percentages really look like, because this is the spreadsheet version, here is the actual statistical ratio within the total population number. And as you can see, the actual statistical ratios within the greater population is minuscule for the Diesel Octane Man, as with the 100 Octane Man. And like I said, I'm providing links for the actual numbers down below, but just for an example, the Diesel Man is 0.0000, that's 4 zeros, 423% of the entire population. And the 100 Octane Man, meaning the ballers, the professional ball players who get paid to do what they do, and the entertainers and the masters of the universe, meaning the CEOs, the movers and shakers, the high-ranking businessmen and captains of industry who actually move the environment, are also minuscule in number as well, in terms of percentile within the greater population, at 0.000, yes, that's 3 zeros after the decimal point, 257. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that's involved in popular culture in terms of the prevalence of how often we see the ballers, how often we see the entertainers, and the movers and shakers, and media and social media, and our popular culture forms of communication. So that's another conversation for another day, but I just wanted to quickly show you this graphic, because what's even more interesting are the two categories at the other end of the spectrum, starting with the 85 octane. Now, the reason why I have the number 12% is very simple. Looking at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we look at the percentage of incarcerated African American males, it is 6%, which is 3 times the amount of the average of other. Well, it's presented as 3 times the amount. We can get into those the further derivatives of those statistics in another space. But what I wanted to do is focus on that 6% number and look at the amount that are actually locked up, actually in a camp, actually under the state, be it at house arrest, be it at work release or whatever, and flip that number on its head. And so the 12% represents a mirror. So if you get 6% in, 6% out, which will give us a greater blanketing of the representational whole of what an 85 octane would be, meaning those who are socially indigent, those who are vacillating from one space to another, who are not contributing to the greater society, those who are in the system in one way or another, those who are the pookies, for example. But I wanted to make sure that I had a crystallized number to show that it is on the lower end of the greater ratio of the total, so 12% of 100%. Okay, so we have the remaining 88% to look at and to analyze and to break down. However, the other aspect of this particular graph that is an actual addition to the historical Octane model or the scale is this addition at the end, which is I call flex. And this is the percentage that Dr. T. Hasan Johnson refers to when he says that 40 to 50% of men in urban spaces are unemployed. But when we take that number and we stretch it across the entire population and we input the number of employed and we put all of these numbers together as a whole, we get the column labeled as the shadow economy. Now, anyone who's familiar with the shadow economy understands that this is a phenomenon that exists globally, that has always existed, that exists as a form of hustling. Okay, it's a form of producing, be it legally and illegal. It's recognized as a legal form of generating income or capital for whatever it is. Now, what the enterprise is or what the purpose is, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But I wanted to make sure that we understood that these millions, okay, these millions of men who are not labeled within the traditional spaces and who are unaccounted for, but that still exists in the total number of the 21 million of the population that we're studying as a case, have a relationship that is a global labeling of how people who are not participating currently in a formalized economy are surviving and even in some cases thriving. So there's a bigger picture to that, but I wanted to bring the entirety of the picture together in order to have a representation of what the true metrics look like. And so at the end of the day, this is only the beginning of these observational series. And the reason why all of this information is so scattered, there's so many links down below, is because in the public space, we're not talking about private think tanks, we're not talking about government-sponsored think tanks, but in the public sector, this research, these observations, these corollaries have not been drawn. So like I said before in previous videos, this is the first time that these things are being written, that these books, these texts, these documents are being read into the record, as the Master BGS would say. So this is open source, obviously, and it's open for engagement, interaction, and comment. If you have any information, any links, any resources, maybe something that's behind a paywall, because I definitely ran into a lot of paywalls and university blocked data sets with this research. But if you have any access, if you have anything to add to this or any observations of your own, feel free to pop in any links, leave your comments down below and your thoughts, because this is, an ongoing project and a process of refinement so that we can get a clearer picture of what this particular observation looks like and should look like as a complete picture going forward as we move into this new era. And as always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying stay sharp and mission focused. Later.